to Richontech from John C. Weaver, Roseman, California. Time index right now is 10:11 in the morning, Monday, on the 16th of September, 2024. You always give good insights concerning about electronics and every other fun, cool thing. But to see you do old school, you're showing your age, dude. You're showing your age. Hold on. Sorry about that. You talk about old school technology here. I'm dealing with technology data from 10 or 15 years ago for a laptop, and it's a pain in the ass. And to mention a mouse that's cheaper than anything else that seems to give me click problems. But dealing with old school technology, I thought you were just a wonder kid concerning about the new stuff coming on and then dazzle the population and the public into thinking this is the greatest thing that we've gotten. Boy, we've lost our minds, haven't we? Dude, you're in your late 40s, almost coming up on the big 50s. I'm coming up on nearly the big 60, and I'm scared to death about old age. But when it comes down for tech, yes, I remember. The old adage a long time ago, Pepperidge Farms remembers. Shall we play a game? Ah, yes, the old Matthew Broderick film of war games, where he'd seen a computer hacker use the technology of that time to try to play a game and nearly starts World War III. I looked at the technology we had at that year in our high school and saw rows of Apple IIes, actually about a couple of them, one Trash 80 and about a dozen of the Atari 800s, all just to learn BASIC. I tried to learn BASIC with the Apples. They suck. Trash, close to it. So the Ataris are simple enough to do the programming where you can actually make things, but I can never do the graphics on those. I wasn't creative enough for that. But put my hand on a joystick. Oh. You heard about the old song that the Who created, the Pinball Wizard. I was a joystick wizard. I thought of myself. So when I was going through junior high back in 1980 and 81, actually in 80, there was a family fun arcade on Devonshire and Balboa, tucked inside a mini mall in there. There I spent over $600 to $700, I think, of my mother's money trying to get good at Star Wars Empire, and let's see, Galaga, Gorf, a Gorfian Empire. Yeah. But I also had fun with the handheld games of a portable Donkey Kong that got confiscated in high school, never given back. I had fun with a Mattel Electronic basketball game where the thumbs were king and almost giving me arthritis at a young age. But I had fast fingers. They had the blockbusters coming out. Big, tall-ass monsters, skinny monsters. With a little dial in here, and you had a touchpad. And for whatever kind of cartridge, monster cartridge, you slam into there, you'd play the game. Snark Hunt. Bowling was it. But there was also Breakout. Breakout was one of those games that you'd see in the arcades, left or right, and you had to dial on the console, stand-ups, and you're constantly trying to hit it. I played a lot of it until I got a little bit older and got into the gaming of Game Boy. Its first game startup to get you hooked was Breakout, or they call it Blockbuster. That's where I heard the song on your on your session today concerning about video gaming. They actually had about 4 of those songs, depending what kind of level or skill set you're at. They played the same thing. Very cool. Very, very interesting playing in that. Because my thumbs would be aching, and so would my hands after playing that thing for hours and chewing up on packets of double A's left and right on that. I didn't get the additional gear. I mean, I didn't even have it where I could put a headphone on it and just listen to it. No. I played it as is. Shove it in the pocket, I could take it out and play the game like crazy. But at another time, during that same time period, I was also a bookworm. So in one pocket would be a book, and the other pocket would be a Game Boy. And then the other pocket would be the wallet. There was nothing wrong with going into your bookstores and being mesmerized by print. There was nothing wrong with it. I drove my family insane over the years when I was growing up. I wanted books. I wanted more books. When they came out with Atari Pong playing table tennis, that was a challenger right there. Because that's when the addiction concerning about the tabletops and the stand-ups. See, in the previous generations, they would have the pinball, they would have the pool table, they would have the air hockey. I tried the air hockey. Wasn't good at it much. Foosball. Now, when you came out with the video games, you got me stuck on that one. I'm like, there are some lighter and darker notions concerning about video games. Now, if you actually had kept up with the history of the video games back then, as I tried to have, they came out with the magazines concerning about what games are out there for people to play. The laser discs versus the vectors and rasters out there. Which game was hot, which wasn't, and which game programming out there could make you top dog of everything or make your own video games at home. Ton of magazines. Ton. Long live those old days. Old days on those, Rich. We're young, we were wild, we were free, we were addicted, we were enslaved. Back in the 90s, or actually the late 80s, and then through the 90s, when I got to working as an adult, a young adult, and I looked at the magazines on the street. I always had those newspapers for other things, and you had the business journals, and you had the computer journals out there. I was collecting all of them just to see what was going on, including the computer journals. I was a techie. Techie in the head, but could not perform the deeds. But I was also interested in the bureaucracy and also how they were being governed. And being a gamer, an old gamer during those days, I wanted to see how things were going. When the laser discs came out and the games at home got weirder and harder, not to mention when they get more violent. We heard statistics coming out of congressional hearings during those times. I read about it. Saw once in a great while they'd shove a news story out there in a national or even a local concerning about congressional hearings and putting the video game developers on notice and the publishers out there. Getting the finger of God pointed at them. See these crime statistics? These things are your fault because you're turning our kids into zombies. Now what do you think about that? I don't remember which particular senator was really going after them. I think it was, if we're talking political, it was Republicans, and the Democrats was like, now wait a second, we don't have the statistics. Ah, shush up. We got the statistics right here. They're coming from y'all local services over here from the FBI. And that's where we actually had a Tommy Tuberville during that time, he'd be giving me a lot of grief over that one. But some of those games in the arcades, pretty graphic. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. It was bad enough when I saw the OK Corral coming up, and you had a wagon going up the street. And then you had the two gunfighters trying to shoot each other. One was computer, unless you already had a partner, and the other one would be you trying to shoot the partner, or whatever was going on. And if you actually shot past the wagon, and I'm in a position, bang! Of course, you had the challenge of Space Wars. You had asteroids. You did have challenging games that made you work as a group, like Gauntlet. But when they got into the graphics of the Japanese stuff coming out there, Toonami, Nintendo, a couple others, Mortal Kombat, Namco, or? I remember Mortal Kombat. We had, when I went to college after high school, and I was hanging out in the cafeteria, and they'd have a lineup of games. They'd switch out from time to time. But one of them, in the first year, actually in the first semester, I was in there just hanging out between classes. They had Mortal Kombat, but they also had other Kung Fu style games, including Street Fighter. Well, yeah, not much on Street Fighter, I guess. I'd seen some of those games in the arcades that we actually had in the up in Temecula Mall, and I think Family Fun, and there was also Castle Golfland. But I saw some of those kids are just playing it like it was their life, or they're in tune with it. They had moves like, whoa. But in the end, when it came down for Mortal Kombat, fatality. You would see heads being ripped off the computerized body. You would see the blood and the guts and everything else. This is before they made it rated, where they tone it down in the next batch or so. But you can see the blood and guts. You can see that. And the lawmakers up in the hill during that time thought games like that were making a more violent crime, because they were afraid of the students, actually the kids, using that frenzy and performing a lot of bad stuff back then. The only bad stuff I was recognizing at the point was not the break-ins. It was always the street gangs. They were always grabbing the headlines in LA on that one. I didn't hear about the nationwide statistics or the other stories like that, Rich. What I was hearing was coming from Southern California, and primarily City of Los Angeles and then County of Los Angeles. I was a Valley dude, so I heard about stuff, I saw the stuff, and I'm having a conniption fit over it. But we had a police scanner, me and my brother, my big brother, and we'd listen to what was happening. But I couldn't figure out what the blowhards in the congressional hearings would we be matching up with this stuff. I mean, there were challenging puzzle games out there. There were challenging other games that came out on the home consoles. I mean, Graviton was in, and there was Berserk, which was like Crazy Otto bouncing at you, dude. Crazy Otto, that ball that you couldn't even shoot. You had to run away from him, otherwise he'd get you. And if I'm not mistaken, during the 80s, on the American Bandstand, Buckner and Garcia. Two gentlemen, two artists came up with the songs that matched up with most of the games I was familiar with. Wasn't familiar with Frogger all that much. Defender, yeah, well, it was kind of tough. Defender was kind of tough. Asteroids, well. Donkey Kong, yeah. Played the game so many times on the smaller handheld units. I didn't do the main consoles, just the handheld. I was trying to get good there too until I got the game confiscated, as I said before earlier. Played it on a high school campus in between classes. Actually, I think it was on a break. And one of the teachers came up, scolded me, grabbed the damn game, left it, and then I never saw it again. It wasn't even mine. It was a friend of mine that borrowed. Man, it had a clock in it. Only when I got older, I appreciate the value of how addicting those damn things were. But I can tell you that one of the dark sides about playing the video games, dude, the lights and the action of it. And one aspect of what the congressional hearings were talking about, Rich, I agreed with them. If you were that weak-minded or weak-willed a bit, it was very addicting. My mother would scold me every time her piggy bank got lower and lower. And the coins she collected wasn't exactly the standard fare of 25 cents. No. You ever heard of a lady named Susan B. Anthony? When they first came out with the coins, they were beveled. They were angled. They were making themselves distinct from a regular quarter, but they're roughly the same size. And this was the U.S. Treasury at work on these things. Because the mechanisms we had back then to process our money, it was always in the form of a penny, a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. We always had machines to measure those. And they were calibrated and machined for those sizes. But nobody was prepared for the Susan B, which was in the same category of a quarter, except the edges and the facing was different. But the machines didn't know that. They took them as quarters. So if you were going into a massive gaming situation over here, you were just had to get this game continuing. Like Gauntlet. Gauntlet was a quarter eater. I thought the other games were quarter eaters, but no. This one was a monster. You had to continue on with the fight. Keep pulling it out, keep putting it out, keep putting it out, keep putting it in the machine. If I had only kept a cool head. If. Screw the F. My mother was just on my ass on that one. I couldn't go back to another arcade as long as I lived during those days. And yes, there was punishment. She was collecting them. As I said before, earlier on, about 5, 6, maybe 100. I bring up the story because I have to talk about my addiction problems. And when it comes down for video games now, in the format that we have, that we can control, battle simulations, yeah. If it was a strategic simulation game, such as, the Star Trek games that came out, last 30 years, the Armada 2. And there's Battlefront of Star Wars during those days, Electronic Arts, for the 2005 series. And then there's Battlefront 2. And during those times when I was playing the disc games, I stuck with the ones that, well, actually I had several demo discs. A few of them actually did have mission discs on them. that actually had blood and gore in it. First persons. Yeah. I stuck with the ones that didn't give me that much blood and gore, and I can control that. And also, if I can see the body not lying there every time I keep passing by it, the body would be gone. So would the burn marks. So I'd keep playing because that's a psychological disadvantage. Every time you keep playing a game, you keep running over dead bodies and gore like that. I just can't deal with it anymore these days. I can play with the Star Wars Battlefront and die, or else I can play Battlefront 2 and be a god. Here's the thing, Rich. I talk about the old school games to the games we have today. Especially if they are either on a cartridge or they're on a disc, there will be always cheat codes. On the Armadas, I had come across different mods to add to it to add flavor to the game. But in order to increase my survival chances, that shows you how a lousy gamer I am. Getting older. One has to shoot. So Armada 1 and Armada 2, in the game zones themselves, in the campaigns, one could cheat because they would have the codes for it. But when it came down for the instant action, no, there's no cheating. That's experience right there. Easy, I could win it. Medium, not so much. Hard, I'm dead all the time. But if I knew the area so well, it's like automatic. I know how to modify it, and where I can keep winning this damn game and study the patterns and study the tactics like crazy. Now, I couldn't do the cheating on the Star Wars Battlefront 2005 PC version of it. There's no cheat codes on that I discovered. So it's basically, I'm dead all the time. Or try to not to be. And survive to the next game, to the next one. Or if it's instant action, survive until I get past the damn thing. But when it came down for, I gotta confess this one. I have to confess it. For Star Wars Battlefront 2. There is a section I read about a while ago about how to play the campaign games as themselves, but in cheat mode. But all if you're doing it in the instant action and you type in the campaign game number or title, and then you can play that game with unlimited ammunition, with godlike powers. But it does not guarantee you to win every single time. It depends on strategy and tactics. And that's why I keep playing the games, because I keep trying to change my tactics around to see how the computers are operating on it. And unfortunately, it's not very well in adapting things. I noticed that. I don't do the multiple players. I don't do that because I know I'll get killed every single time, and I don't like dying in the game. I get a thing against death, real and imaginary. Long story. That's where my channel comes in, my YouTube channel. That's why the title of my video. But for the most part, that's what what I play. I can do a good game of solitaire. I can play that much. But yeah, as for having the gaming hands like I used to have a long time ago, diabetic, neuropathy. I can do the keyboards. I can try to do the mouse if the damn thing's still working. And I can still play my Star Wars game. If I get sick and tired of that, I'll switch over to Star Trek Armada and play that for a while. But in reality, come here, honey. She's going to be that way about it. I deal with I'm a caregiver to a dog that's having her last days on Earth. An old dog. She's my mama's. She's my world. One of these here days, I'll talk to you about that. when it comes down for times of caregiving and hospice at home. Till then, Rich, we'll talk.